Versailles, 1715. King Louis XIV is dying. Courtiers whisper that the Sun King, the most powerful man in Europe, has bathed exactly 3 times in his 77 years of life. 3 baths in a lifetime. His doctors told him water was dangerous, that it opened the pores and let disease in. So instead, he drenched himself in perfume. He changed his shirt 12 times a day, and he still reeked so badly that his own mistress once fainted from the smell. Now imagine today without deodorant. No antiperspirant, no body wash, no showers. Just you, your sweat, and a cloud of perfume trying to hide what your body is doing. For most of human history, that was normal. And what people did to mask the stench is going to make you grateful for the little stick in your bathroom cabinet. I'm Henry Walsh of Filthy Past, and this is the hidden history of how we stopped smelling like death. This is the history of deodorant. Here's what most people don't realize. Body odor has been humanity's problem from the very beginning, and we've been fighting it for at least 4,000 years. In ancient Egypt, around 1500 BC, the wealthy rubbed themselves with scented oils after bathing. Cinnamon, myrrh, frankincense. They carried cones of scented wax on their heads, which slowly melted throughout the day, dripping perfume down their faces and shoulders. It sounds elegant. It wasn't. By evening, every wealthy Egyptian was essentially a sticky, dripping perfume candle. The Greeks took a different approach. They believed that sweating was actually healthy. Their solution was to scrape it off. They used a curved bronze tool called a strigil, dragged across the skin after exercise, pulling away sweat, oil, and dead skin in one disgusting curl. And the Romans? They went full industrial. Roman bathhouses used perfume oils mixed with ashes as a kind of proto-deodorant paste. The wealthy had slaves whose entire job was to reapply scent throughout the day. But here's the thing, all of this depended on one thing: water, access to bathhouses, access to clean water to even apply the perfume. And when Rome fell, all of that disappeared. What came next was 1,000 years of the worst body odor in human history. When the Roman bathhouses closed, Europe didn't just stop bathing, it started to fear water. By the 1300s, the Black Death had terrified every physician in Europe, and they came up with an explanation that would haunt hygiene for centuries. They believed disease traveled through the air, through something called miasma, bad air, poisonous vapors, and they believed water opened the pores, letting that bad air into your body. So doctors told kings, queens, and nobles the same thing for 300 years. Don't bathe, ever. Queen Isabella I of Spain, who funded Christopher Columbus, proudly claimed she had bathed only twice in her entire life, once when she was born, once before her wedding. Louis XIII of France, Louis XIV's father, didn't have his first bath until he was 7 years old. And it wasn't just royalty. The French King Henry IV was famous across Europe for smelling so bad that his new bride, when she met him for the first time, reportedly asked to be taken back to Italy. The solution? Perfume, drowning in perfume. The word perfume itself comes from Latin perfumum, meaning through smoke, because people burned fragrant wood and incense in their rooms just to mask the body odor. Wealthy men and women carried pomanders, small perforated spheres filled with musk, ambergris, and rotting whale vomit. Yes, actual whale vomit. Ambergris was one of the most valuable perfume ingredients in Europe. The rich drenched their clothes in lavender water and rosemary oil. They changed shirts constantly. They stuffed herbs into their armpits. None of it worked. Europe smelled like death, and people learned to just live with it. Then, in 1888, a mother in Philadelphia invented something that would change everything. Her name was Edna Murphy. She was a teenager whose father, a surgeon, had developed a paste to keep his hands from sweating during operations. The paste was made of zinc chloride, and it actually worked. Edna realized it could do more than stop surgical hands from slipping. It could stop armpits from stinking. She borrowed $150 from her grandfather, set up operations in her bedroom, and started selling the paste in small jars. She called it Mum. The first commercial deodorant in history was invented by a teenage girl in her bedroom. But Mum had problems. It stung, it stained clothes, it was sticky, and worst of all, nobody wanted to buy it, because in the 1880s, talking about body odor was considered deeply improper. Women weren't supposed to sweat, men were supposed to work through it. The idea of applying something to your armpits was seen as unhygienic at best and scandalous at worst. Edna's product sat on pharmacy shelves, gathering dust for almost 20 years. By the way, if you've made it this far, you clearly have a stronger stomach than most. If you want more stories like this, the disgusting, forgotten truth behind the things you use every day, hit subscribe. You're the exact kind of person this channel is made for. Now back to the story. Let me tell you about a man named James Young. Young was an advertising copywriter in 1919, working for the J. Walter Thompson Agency in New York. He'd been hired to figure out how to sell a product that nobody wanted to admit they needed. The product was called Odorono, a liquid antiperspirant invented by a Cincinnati doctor. Sales were dying. Nobody would buy something for a problem they refused to acknowledge they had. So Young did something genuinely shocking for its era. He wrote an advertisement that accused women of smelling bad. The ad was titled, "Within the Curve of a Woman's Arm." It described how a woman could be beautiful, charming, perfectly dressed, and still be secretly repulsive to the men around her because of the sweat under her arms. It ran in Ladies' Home Journal in 1919, and it was so offensive that 200 women cancelled their subscriptions immediately. Society women publicly refused to speak to James Young ever again. But sales of Odorono jumped 112%. Young had done something no advertiser had ever done before. He had manufactured shame. He had convinced women that they had a problem they didn't know they had, that their natural body was offensive, that they needed to buy a product to fix themselves. And once that worked on women, companies turned to men. By the 1930s, deodorant ads were warning men that BO would cost them jobs, wives, and friendships. The entire deodorant industry, worth over $20 billion today, is built on a foundation of shame that a 30-year-old copywriter invented on purpose. Sound familiar? The roll-on deodorant, the format most of us still use today, wasn't invented until 1952. And here's the strange part. It was inspired by the ballpoint pen. Bristol-Myers engineers looked at the little rolling ball at the tip of a pen and thought, what if we scaled that up and put it in a jar of antiperspirant liquid? They called it Ban, and it became the best-selling deodorant in America within 5 years. The aerosol spray came in the 1960s, riding the same wave of post-war consumer obsession with convenience. By 1975, aerosol deodorant was in nearly every American bathroom. Then came the scandal. Scientists discovered that the chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, propelling those sprays were destroying the ozone layer. An entire generation of people spraying their armpits had been quietly punching holes in the atmosphere. The FDA banned CFCs in deodorant in 1978, and the industry scrambled to reformulate. Today, most antiperspirants work using aluminum compounds that temporarily plug the sweat ducts. The science is surprisingly similar to what Edna Murphy was doing in her bedroom over 130 years ago. A teenage girl, a paste, and eventually a multi-billion-dollar industry built on convincing you that your body is something to be ashamed of. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Filthy Past. If you made it this far, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and drop a comment below telling me which everyday object you want me to dig into next. Next week, we're going somewhere even stranger. Before shampoo, women in Victorian England went years without washing their hair. Some piled it so high with grease that rats actually lived inside it. The filthy history of shampoo. Coming soon. Until then, take a look around. The past is filthier than you think.